Welcome to You Hear Big Girls, Attack on Titan podcast. I'm Mom Taku.
And my name is Luna. And today we have two very special guests on. They're joining us from the Shingeki no Kyojin subreddit. First is the most loved mod on the subreddit, DarthMewtwo.
Hi, I'm DarthMewtwo. I'm the head mod of the subreddit. I've been doing this for nearly 5 years. I've also been running the original Attack on Titan podcast, A Cast on Titan. That faded out, shifted into Cast of the Titans. That is now fading out and being absorbed into this, so...
And our second guest, I'm just going to introduce him as Al, is also a mod on the subreddit. Can you please say your full Reddit name?
Yes, my full Reddit name is alooulla, which is cribbed from War of the Worlds. I joined Reddit about 4 years ago to complain about Chapter 63, I think, and never left. So that's why my username is stupid.
What is Chapter 63, Al? You have to tell me what...
I think it was Wish. It was the one where they rescue Eren in the cave. And I remember being very disappointed that Mikasa didn't express any concern for him in that moment. Something which the anime fixed, to my great delight. It was one of the 60s anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been a mod on the board since December. Everyone thinks I'm nice, so I suppose I've got them all fooled. For those who don't know me, I'm a Renaissance man, a poet. Some might say I'm less than a god, yet more than a man.
That's because there's only one room for one god on the mod team. Jokes aside, Al is one of our oldest users, and I was incredibly happy to be able to invite him.
Well, we're happy to have both of you. So Chapter 117, the fan translation title of it was Conviction, which I thought was actually excellent. But the chapter that Kodansha gave us was, Judgement, which I still am having a hard time wrapping my head around. But chapter impressions, what did you think? Al? Darth?
I loved it. This might sound strange, but I think it's nice to have an action chapter every now and again because it lets you breathe. I find that action chapters are less heavy than the philosophical ones, so that Eren's not going to sit at the table and tell Mikasa he hates her in an action chapter, if you know what I mean. So it allows you to refresh yourself, cleanse the palate, as it were.
What about you, Darth?
I'm kind of a unique one in that I actually prefer action chapters. I mean, obviously, if there's 20 of them in a row, we have a problem, but I find it really hard to follow a fight in a manga, as in, like, what exactly is happening. So when I saw Eren versus Reiner in the now second newest episode of the anime, it was like a brand new fight to me. However, the fights themselves are still what get me screaming, holy shit, at 2 a.m., much to the displeasure of my dad and annoyance of my dog. So this one was definitely a good one, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I really enjoyed, Isayama's really good with this, like having similar moments go on in the manga and also then in the anime. We've seen it when Ymir officially died in a manga and then it looked like she had died in the anime, and now we have Reiner versus Eren, and what do we get in the manga? Reiner versus Eren. And I also kind of like that he was so rushed because of the Golden Week crunch that he was just like, you know what? I don't even have time to draw the extra 4 years on Reiner. I'm going to make him just look the same like he did back then. So, I don't know. All in all, I think it was an interesting chapter. There were some, not really exchanges because they were all thought bubbles, but like between Eren and Reiner. I just wish they actually had talked to each other, but, we can get into that later a bit. And I am very anxious for what is going to happen now that Zeke is here. So that's my hot take.
Yeah, kind of to pull off what you said, I do like the parallels of what happens in the anime and what happens in the manga. And it's definitely true to the point of Shadis appeared in the anime, and people were like, he's probably going to appear in the manga. And then 1 or 2 chapters later, we get not the reappearance we were looking for, but the reappearance
No, not necessarily, I guess.
So the parallel topic, on that topic, there's some speculation now about Levi dying while the anime is airing Erwin's death. Wouldn't that be tragic?
I think they missed their chance. He would have to die in the next chapter. And
well, 2 weeks, within 2, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. So the next 2 chapters, I'll be generous. Yeah. And he already survived the initial one. So for him to drag it out and then just kill him like that would be a bit much. Like, it would be if Reiner had died to the alooulla after initially surviving the Levi sword through the neck and the initial round of Thunder Spears.
Yeah, I agree. It's if Levi was going to die, he would have died there and then.
If Levi was going to die in this fight and arc, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody else mentioned you don't put that much effort into a cool scar if you don't intend on using it. So, but it is interesting, to have so much suffering happening in the anime right now. And, depending which way the story goes, there could be, it's just all suffering. What am I saying? That's what we do. We suffer.
That's the story, yes. And someone on the subreddit did point out that the fingers that were blown off Levi's hand were actually not the ones he uses because he is a weirdo and holds the blade backwards. So in theory, he isn't necessarily even gimped unless he's blind in one eye.
So even though it was an action chapter with very little dialogue, which I'm sure made Golden Week easy for Isayama, there was plenty to discuss about. Lots of ideas in the fandom about certain panels and how things went down and even character development. And I know the chapter started off right away with this fantastic moment between Porco and Pieck where she hollers at him and he immediately just snaps her wrist to take off the cuffs. I mean, I just thought that was such a great moment for the two of them. I mean, definitely one of the gorier moments in a chapter that was very gory, but I loved the teamwork between those two.
I think she intended for him to aim for the chain, though.
Do you, though?
Yes.
No, I think she wanted to end the chain off because she wanted to transform, but she can't do it with Gabi still attached to her.
Well, of course, but she wanted the chain, not necessarily her arm, because in the very next panel of her, she is very shocked there.
I thought that was a very funny panel, like just both Gabi and Pieck streaming, like, ah!
It was definitely funny, yeah. But my point is, I think she meant for him to aim for the chain.
So you think this was another example of Porco failing? Like he gets one chance and he screws it up.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, she had to be injured as well, right?
Well, yeah, but every shifter can bite their hand.
I mean, true, but this was like 2 birds, 1 stone, I guess.
I don't know. She held her fist out to him. It's not like she held up the chains. And I mean, he did what he did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She also unnecessarily scarred Gabi, though.
Yeah.
And I do prefer the initial translation of like, damn, that hurts or something rather than just, ow!
Yeah. See, this is the problem. I don't really know the original Japanese anymore because I don't get to see the scans. So I don't know if Kodansha did a good job or a bad job. I do, like you, prefer the fan translation this time.
I'm just salty because I keep an eye out every single month for Kodansha's latest fuck-up. And for months I've been saying that we just need to sticky a thread on the subreddit that is, here's all the panels that Kodansha broke. Like putting a text box from the previous chapter, or putting a line of X's across Levi's face, or completely forgetting to fix the translation that they tweeted they would fix in the volume release. But I'm still kind of trying to avoid them suing us. So I'm not quite sure what we'll do there.
It always ends up in the chapter poll, because it's just...
Oh, does it?
It does, yeah. You should take them. They're really fun.
Yeah, I know.
So were there any mistakes this time? I didn't notice any huge glaring, except for the title. I really thought that Judgement was a poor translation for the actual title.
No words in the trees this time.
No words in the trees.
The hidden messages that got everyone excited.
I haven't noticed any, but that might just be because there wasn't much text for them to fuck up.
That's also true.
The only real issue was that I totally thought that Armin was Yelena for like the first several pages.
Oh, same.
But that's an Isayama.
It's the haircut.
It's the stupid haircut, yeah.
So the first question we asked in the poll was this chapter's MVP? I was really surprised at the results. I thought for sure, well, let me ask you, Al, who was your MVP this chapter?
Everyone who knows me knows how much I love Eren. But MVP was definitely Pieck, because you can't be an MVP if you're not being a team player. And Eren is not currently being a team player. He's trying to keep the world all on his own shoulders. And look, I'm just going to come out and say it. Pieck is carrying the warriors, basically. In some cases, literally.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, I kind of agreed with you. I thought for sure Pieck would be a shoo-in on this because she's the one character that seems to be like consistently, like you said, team player, using her head, doing the right thing, not making a lot of mistakes, keeping an eye on the big picture as she's moving forward. What about you, Darth?
Yeah, I'd say Pieck is the MVP of this chapter, really. I mean, Al's right. Eren isn't working with anyone. He completely abandoned Yelena and everyone else on his side. We'll see how he actually acts now that Zeke's here, but I'm not 100% sure they'll work together as well as people would hope they would. He just kind of seems like he's acting on his own, just trying to get revenge on Reiner and Shiganshina, honestly.
Well, in the poll, 61.9% declared Eren as this chapter's MVP. Like 69%. Pieck only got 15% of the vote, which
It was very shocking.
I was very shocked by that. But I think there was just a lot of people who were excited that Eren showed actual emotion this month. And apparently that's enough to secure him MVP status.
Well, we've been waiting a long time.
I mean, I voted like the same way I think a lot of people did, like for their favorite character. And I guess for most people that's Eren still. So, and he did good this chapter.
He did.
Oh yeah. He did brilliantly, but part of a team, not so good.
I mean, did he do brilliantly? Because all he really did was crush Reiner, which he's always done, and crush Porco, which is all Porco was capable of.
I mean, watching him use the Warhammer Titan power to skewer people, I mean, I got an ask about maybe a year ago about Eren's intelligence. And granted, in the character guidebook, he was only given maybe a 3 or a 4 for wits.
Is that out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 10.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So not a brilliant, I should probably double check that. I think it was a 4. Not considered a brilliant character, but when it comes to how he moves and how he battles, I mean, it is absolute brilliance. It's beautiful, right? It's like he's always aware.
Yeah, I think part of that was also because he was just blinded by rage when he was young. He didn't give himself the time to think these battle situations through, which now he does. You know, he takes the time to strategize and it pays off. We saw it pay off in Marley when he used Porco as a nutcracker.
I'm so glad they kept that in the official translation.
Same. I did not expect that. I lost it at that. There was so much humor in this chapter, really. Considering the subject, I mean, you wouldn't expect it. You know, there's like carnage and bodies everywhere, people dying, but a lot of good stuff, a lot of funny stuff as well.
Yeah, and I should say I was being mostly facetious about Eren. It was a good chapter. He did a good job.
I think something else to be conscious of regarding such a low score for wits is that he's got protagonist syndrome. So a lot of that will be taking into account Mikas's obvious feelings towards him and him being totally clueless about it. As far as things like that go, the protagonist is kind of witless, I suppose.
Well, was he clueless about it, or was he just, I know how you feel and I don't care in the slightest because you're a slave?
Oh, Darth.
It's a valid question. Did he not notice, or was he apathetic?
I think he was clueless about it. Now I'm not so sure because we haven't had a real insight into his mental state. In fact, unless I'm wrong, I think this chapter was the first in a long time where we actually got some thought bubbles from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I just looked it up, and the SnK character guidebook, he got a 2.5 in this.
And that was out of 10, right?
Out of 10, of course, the guidebook went to 11 in some cases. So
okay. Can I just give a fun anecdote considering what's going on, like with Game of Thrones? Like they also do episode polls. Jon Snow got a 5.2 out of 10 from the fandom. I just want to put that in perspective here.
So Eren is dumber than Jon Snow.
But I like what you said, Luna. This is because when he was young, he was portrayed. I mean, I would imagine if they did a new guidebook and they did a similar charts to show, their characteristics or whatever, probably his wit score would be a little higher. But at the time, it was 2.5. But I never thought that was fair because when it came to battle situations, especially recently, the guy knows what he's doing.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially looking back on the festival arc where he immediately pinpointed the Warhammer and how to kill her.
Yeah.
You never worry about him in a fight, do you? He's not one of those characters who who you think, oh, I hope Eren's going to be okay. You know, he's going to be okay. He's that good these days.
But also a little bit of main character syndrome.
That too, yes.
Yeah.
So even though he's not somebody we worry about in that sense, this battle, this looked close, right? I mean, if Zeke hadn't shown up, we're not quite sure what would have happened. And part of that was because of the new weapon. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, it was an interesting new weapon, wasn't it? I'm going to get really quite nerdy here because this is my bread and butter. What it was is actually, physically at least, a cross between an anti-aircraft gun and an anti-armor cannon from the Second World War. You don't often get artillery with seats in it like that. Only anti-aircraft guns. It was an interesting device. I love it when Isayama pulls from real-world examples, and in this case, he mashed together two pieces of equipment. There's the Bofors gun, which was an anti-aircraft weapon from Sweden, made in the 1930s, and a KS-19 Soviet anti-armor gun, which was just after the Second World War. It fires massive shells, 100mm shells, which would really do a number on a Titan. So it's an impressive piece of kit.
Now, I heard someone else equate it to the Paris gun. Is that similar?
The railway cannon, yes. I didn't know the name. Williams gun. It's a similar sort of thing, only not quite as big. But once you get into artillery, it all becomes much of a muchness as soon as you go past a certain shell size. The interesting thing to me was how Magath aimed and used it, which was very much like you would use a weapon for shooting down aeroplanes rather than actually attacking ground targets.
So what you're saying is they're preparing for a flying Titan.
Well.
Or Kiyomi, if she is going to come in on her ice burststone fueled aircraft.
I suppose what I'm saying to be safe is I wouldn't be surprised if it was used at a harsh angle for some reason. I don't know what that might be.
Someone commandeers it and uses it against Marley's blimps.
Or Zachley's plane.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure why they needed Pieck for it.
Just easy to reposition, I suppose. I mean, if you put wheels on it, that's fine, but Pieck can climb a building with it on her back.
Wasn't that cool, too, that Pieck was able... I'd wondered about this. I'd written some meta, actually, about... remember in the Return to Shiganshina arc, for the first time we see Pieck, she's already saddled up. She's already got the Krace on her. And I had suspected that she'd probably gotten loaded up in Marley and had actually been in that, with the bodies on her and the crates and the people that would be titanized, that she'd spent the entire time, because how in the world would three men be able to load and unload? But it looks like it was kind of cool watching how dexterous she was, able to, put on her own gear and mount the own weapon. And I thought that was something I'd always wondered about. So it was nice to see that spelled out for us.
I agree.
Yeah, I figured she came across on the boat in human form and then shifted once they got to that wall there, then loaded her up.
That's just one of those little tiny details that I, kind of been wondering about for years now. And nice to see the answer. She can do it herself.
Yeah, I guess she's like an ant. She can carry, 300 times her own body weight?
Apparently.
I think that's a good comparison, actually. I tend to think that Pieck's original skill set was a bit vague and ill-defined, so it's nice for me that she's starting to show some more abilities. I mean, we always knew she was very smart, but it's nice to see her Titan show some a dexterous nature and agile nature.
Well, thanks for giving us the backstory on how the weapon is designed. Now, yeah, we can think of some new purposes for it as well. I hadn't even considered.
Something I've wondered about with these World War I, World War II references, I wonder if at this point Isayama has somebody spot checking him to make sure there's no anachronisms in his story, because he definitely has kept the technology very consistent. Is he the World War buff, or does he have somebody on his staff sort of making suggestions at this point? I don't know that we'll get the answer to that.
I mean, Pictius's design, though controversial, may suggest that he's a World War buff.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it also wouldn't surprise me if he brought someone else in, like Reki Kawahara with Sword Art Online. When he moved into the Gun Gale Online arc, he brought in an outside, literally gun expert, and so did the anime team. In fact, the Gun Gale Online Alternative arc, which became SA Alternative the anime, was actually written by a gun nerd rather than by the original author of the series.
Definitely, Isayama pulls from both world wars, so it might just be a case of he's a mild history buff in general, and he's just pulling what looks cool. Because if you remember Pieck's original Panzer crew, the machine guns they used were they were Vickers machine guns, which are from the First World War. But a lot of what's been seen recently is Second World War tech.
Interesting. Now, the gas masks that were used in the Rokugo, were those World War I or World War II?
From what I remember, they were World War I German gas masks, but if I can pull up an image...
They did look more World War I to me, mainly because gas masks weren't necessarily needed in World War II. That being said, I wouldn't put too much stock in their appearance because it was also a fake.
They were fabric, weren't they? They were like a hood. Yes, that's a World War I design. A lot of armies, Allied and Axis, not Axis, used that design.
Does that then imply that Marley has also been, upscaling its technology, and that it's trying to catch up to the rest of the world?
We know they have.
They certainly wanted to. We haven't seen many efforts to that effect, but we can assume they've made some progress by the leap in technology we've seen over the last year or so, issues-wise.
Yeah, we have to remember that we've pretty much only seen their military post-time skip.
True, but they were also still very reliant on the Titan powers time skip.
Well, this weapon that we saw introduced this chapter had to have been brand new. I mean, maybe they had been developing it in some other resource, or some other capacity, but this was specifically made to take out a Titan, which is not something they would have needed before.
I think it was likely built on technology they captured from Fort Slava with the anti-Reiner cannon.
I was just about to mention that. They probably took it from one of their enemies.
Yes, that's what you do. Sometimes it's essential in a war setting. So it's very likely they would have just copied what they captured. They were all too aware of how over-reliant they'd become on their Titans, and the technology was lagging behind. So personally, I hope to see more.
Yeah, and at this point, if they're allied with the rest of the world, then maybe it wasn't captured technology. Maybe it was shared.
That's a good point. There seems to be peace among the other nations now, to a certain extent, doesn't there?
They have their common enemy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what did you guys think about Magath's, I didn't quite understand this, his little soliloquy about how he's the best artilleryman rising from that was a little strange to me that it almost like honking his own horn there.
No, he was making fun of the situation. It's like, oh God, times have gotten very dire if I am the best artilleryman that we've got right now.
Yeah, the initial translation made that clearer, in my opinion. He's basically like, why are we so bad that the best artillery guy we have is the commander-in-chief?
Yes, that's what he was doing. He was lamenting the current situation. It was, it's come to this. But I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, it was basically, oh, come on, you idiots, let me do it myself.
It's funny how that also parallels the anime episode where Levi and Erwin were decrying the state of the Survey Corps and
how far they had fallen.
Well, the war's taken its toll on everybody at this point, I suppose.
It does.
Mainly because Eren belly flopped into their actual commanders.
Yeah.
Magath had that incredibly humanizing moment with Gabby, where he hugs her and calls her Gabby before immediately switching into commander mode. Braun, what were you thinking?
Definitely a humanizing moment. We also saw him taking charge. On Reddit, Kingsgrave asked us to consider this question. If Magath were to win here and defeat Eren and Zeke, would that be a good thing for Eldians in the long term? Does Magath want to end Marley's wars and build peace between Eldia and Marley? And I think that's, something, the morality of this and who's really fighting for a future for Eldia is something that there's a lot of conversation about. But, what's your impression? If Magath were to win here and defeat Eren and Zeke, is that good for Eldia or bad?
It's bad. In my opinion, Marley's a spent force. Magath, I think, is a decent man. But he, at the end of the day, is just a soldier. He might be the commander-in-chief now, but I wouldn't have said he was a politician. And it requires more than just a good soldier to change the world. I think it might be good for Eldians living in Marley, maybe short-term, but at the end of the day, I don't think him winning now is going to be good for the race as a whole.
I'm personally not sure that we're able to make a statement on that yet. We know he is a good Marleyan. He doesn't quite like the state that things are in, but we don't know what form that may take. Personally, I think the best outlook would be Armin's. Eren, no. Zeke, definitely no. But Magath, I'm kind of a question mark on right now.
Well, he stated very clearly that he came not to wipe out Paradis, but to take the founding Titan power. So the question is, if they were successful and take that power, what would he do with Paradis? And we asked this in the poll. It's interesting. Magath explicitly says he wants to end 100 years of resentment. What does that look like? What is his intention? Close to 50% thinks that he wants to wipe out Paradis, the Eldians of Paradis, which I do not agree with at all.
I agree with Mom Taco in this one, and especially because Magath references Willie's speech at the end of the play, where Willie says, the Eldians on Paradis were never, these enemies who were out to destroy the world. It was just, a lie that we have been told and have been telling the rest of the world. But they are not bad people. It's Eren Yeager who is the culprit at this point. And I think his actions here, again, enforce that. Like, he's trying to go after Eren. He wants to obtain the founding Titan by letting one of his Titans eat Eren. But I don't think he's trying to, he knows just as well as everyone else that the Paradisians, they're not to blame for what has happened. And they're not, the devils that they've been making, that Marley has been making them out to be. So, that being said, even if he wins here, what will the rest of the world do?
Exactly.
I was just going to say something like that, is that it may not be his choice. Because sure, he'll lead the vanguard, but then he's got everyone else on the planet saying, no, kill, burn, rape, pillage. He could try and say, no, we're not going to do that, but it may not be his choice when the rest of the world has their guns.
He's a good man, but he's out of his depth.
He's only one man, right? So,
and he's caught up in something I don't think he fully understands.
Yeah, I think he's worked so close with all the Eldians that he knows, he wants to do better and he wants to end the fighting. But I don't think he necessarily has what it takes to actually have a peaceful world in the end where everyone can coexist without trying to murder each other.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Well, he did find out, or they all did this month, that the secret to making the founding Titan work is to combine that with a Titan of royal blood. So that secret is now out on the table for everybody to know, that Eren is basically impotent until he connects with a royal. And yeah. So, and of course, the connection that Zeke is that royal. I guess Historia is still a secret from the rest of them. So it'd be interesting. So, hypothetically speaking, if Reiner had gotten the bite in and had taken the founding Titan power, kind of curious what they would have done with it. Would they have used it as a force to protect Paradis? Would they have let Paradis burn? I mean, at this point, they're just trying to stop the rumbling. I think Al's right. They haven't thought beyond that. They just want to prevent the rumbling.
Do they even know the rumbling is coming, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what all this is about.
That's an interesting point about Historia you brought up. Are they aware of her and her royal blood at all at this point?
Depends on how much they got from Ymir.
Yeah, I don't think Ymir would tell. And I think also Reiner promised Ymir, to keep Historia safe no matter what. So I hope Reiner was intelligent enough not to tell them.
I think Reiner, for all his faults, is a man of his word.
Yeah, I do too. Definitely.
That might be Paradis' trump card then. A very pregnant Historia.
A very fake pregnant Historia.
Mm-hmm.
The pillow theory.
Yes, thank you very much.
No, I'm in two minds about this. I'd really love it if it was fake, just for the sheer hilarity of it. And I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility either.
Thank you. Thank you,
I
Al.
mean-
You're my favorite.
The longer it's lasting, and how many chapters have gone by since
Since
we've
107?
Yeah. Oh, 10.
10.
Then. Okay, then it's been quite some months, and if you could have gotten knocked up and had the baby by now in real life, and she's still sitting there in that rocking chair.
Are we going into last panel spoilers here or no?
Yeah, you can if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, if it's fake, who's the baby?
Oh, it's not hers.
Time skip. It's Grisha holding Eren.
Or it's any random father holding their baby.
I think the panel is saying that Eren will achieve his goal of achieving freedom, but not necessarily for himself, but for the next generation to come.
And I would say, too, now that we know that Zeke's plan is to stop anyone from having babies, that any baby, it could be any baby. It doesn't have to be Historia's anymore.
And it's also a nice confirmation that he will fail, thank God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not necessarily, because
I mean, unless the baby isn't Eldian, but okay.
Zeke's plan won't retroactively kill fetuses. That's Thanos we're talking about.
No, I mean, Zeke's plan is to prevent children from being born. So the last panel showing a child in the arms of someone is, kind of spoils that he's not going to succeed.
It's to create impotence.
Mm.
He's not going to seal up the birth canal of every Eldian woman. He's going to cut the tubes on every Eldian man.
I think it's both,
And
right?
probably woman.
Yeah.
But it's definitely Eren with his and Mikas's baby. Yeah.
Well, from behind, it either looks like Grisha, Eren, or Jean. It's one of the three. So
What if Zeke's plan fails for everybody except Jean?
Because he's not an Eldian, he's a mare.
the majestic stallion cannot be taken down by impotence. Did anybody have anything else about Pieck and Porco before we move on?
Porco?
Porco? Who's that?
I don't have anything very exciting to say about Porco.
That sentence you just uttered is a very accurate summary of his character.
Porco, he exists, I guess.
Yeah, although honestly, that's more how I feel about Pieck, really. People who know me know I don't care for her in the slightest.
I'm not a fan of her, but I respect her ability.
I mean, ability, sure, but I don't see her point as a character, and I don't understand why everyone's like, oh my god, she's the prettiest girl ever. I'm like, no, she's like a 6. Maybe.
I think we found our outtake.
I do like that A, people can't downvote a voice clip, and B, there is the panel where, right when the Jaegerists are all about to shoot Reiner and Porco with the Thunder Spears, you can actually see Pieck moving into position on top of the wall. That's a very, very nice and very tiny detail that not many people picked up on that I've seen.
No, I didn't see it immediately as well. It had to be pointed out to me, but that was a nice little detail in there, which I did not expect, considering a lot of stuff was not put in the chapter, because I'm assuming of time constraints.
Yeah, and even when you're looking at Yelena and Unyankipan and their reaction to Eren getting shot, you can still see a tiny little cloud coming off the wall there.
SEAM's been doing that a lot lately. Little hidden background details, like being able to see Porco in the crowd last month. So I like it. It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into the main point of the chapter, which was the battle. And something that there's been some speculation about was why Yelena tried to get Eren to hide, to go inside, and Eren just defiantly marched off to go for Reiner. Why did he make that decision to ignore her? I mean, obviously it would have been a very boring chapter if he hadn't, but what do you think he was thinking?
Okay, so raise hands. Did you actually think Eren was going to avoid fighting or no?
No.
The moment Yelena uttered those words, I was like, girl, do you even know him at all? Of course he's going to say fighting. What?
She doesn't know him at all. That's the thing.
If Armin said it, I could feasibly see him doing it. Because Armin and Hanji, generally, he'll listen to in a fight, get away from the wall, fight near the wall, etc. Mainly revolving around walls, but the point stands.
So we asked in the poll why he did it. And again, I'm shocked. 40%. He's trying to protect those in the building. That was the most popular response.
No, really?
Yes.
I haven't
All
seen
right.
that.
Let me just read the results, and you guys tell me which one you agree with. Why do you think Eren chose to fight rather than listen to Yelena and get away? The most popular answer was he's trying to protect those in the building. The second most popular was that he knows it's pointless to run. The third option, which is the one I selected, he just really likes fighting Reiner. And the last option with 10% was that he was being arrogant, which I also think that there was a measure of arrogance there as well. But so does anybody here think that he was trying to protect those in the building? Al, you're a huge Eren stan. Guys, we're going to get in trouble.
For what?
I'm willing. For this one, I'm willing. I mean,
Al,
okay,
Al,
Al, save us.
you are Eren Defense League. Why did Eren choose to fight rather than listen to Yelena and get away?
A lot of this is going to depend on where you think his head is at right now.
Yes.
I would agree with the majority on this one. I think he was trying to protect everyone in the building because I don't think it's an accident that everyone he cares about or views as, harmless is conveniently locked in a jail cell where they can't go and get hurt. The exceptions obviously being Levi and Historia. But I think he's trying to put all his eggs in one basket and trying to protect everyone. As sappy as that might seem, I do think that's his intention.
Okay.
Darth,
I just think he really likes fighting Reiner.
Well, that's probably a part of it too. I mean, it's like Pringles. You can't stop. Once you've fought Reiner, you can't stop. But
I mean, there may be
fighting Reiner is like a drug.
There may be some truth in each of those options. I mean, definitely taking the battle away from the building. There's 300 soldiers in that building, not just the ones he cares about. There's a lot of human life in that building. In fact, 300 weapons for Zeke are in that building. So
I think this ties in very closely with a question you'll ask near the end. So I'll have more to say on that. But I think you can read a lot into Eren's expression when Zeke turns up.
Well, yeah. Shall we just talk about it now? Because I actually want to.
No, because you're completely skipping over me.
Okay.
Rude.
Go ahead.
You're putting shackles on me with this PG-13 rating. I will say it anyways, and if you censor, you censor. He just has a rage boner. Eren fights, that's pretty much who he is. My bigger question is how Armin's going to get involved, because he's here, he will enter the fight.
Oh, he will.
And as to pointless trying to run, I would strongly disagree with that. They've already airdropped all of their stuff into Shiganshina, so they're kind of dedicated to Shiganshina. If he goes to Trost, he can regroup.
Yeah, you can't really reload stuff back onto airships. Not easily, anyway.
No, especially not an anti-tank cannon.
Exactly. The Shiganshina is where the battle is.
Which was conveniently evacuated before this happened.
An interesting thing was that the headquarters is now also anime. That's because it wasn't in a manga originally when they were fighting there in the Return to Shiganshina arc.
Was it?
I mean, I looked over the panels.
I thought you would have added it after Trost or Stohas, because it's been in every city.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe in other chapters that I haven't read it there, but I have in the first couple of chapters where he kind of shows a shot of all of Shiganshina. There's no big building resembling like the HQ. So I thought that's like retroactively added in there.
That's interesting. I mean, they did have to rebuild Shiganshina, so maybe that building was added during the reconstruction. That's interesting.
So that's what I thought originally, but now that I see it in the anime, it was always there, apparently.
I wonder if you could see the bird hole at any point in this chapter.
I didn't see it. I looked for it.
I don't think so, yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's being blocked by Pieck's head in the overview shot.
The bird hole.
Yeah, HK gave it that name. I will therefore use it. It is the alooulla Akbert is the explosion, and the Bert hole is the result.
Isn't it a lake now?
Yeah.
It is a lake, but it is still a hole caused by Bert. Therefore, it is a Bert hole.
Okay.
It's very pretty. And my headcanon is that it's sort of like a park and memorial to the dead. But
There's only one headcanon in this chapter, and it's Peaks.
okay.
I'm on a roll.
That was clever. I'll give you that.
Get points for that one. All right. So Al thinks that Eren was sincerely trying to protect those in the building. The rest of us think that it was his rage boner against Reiner.
I'll just say there is a certain arrogance in that as well, because he's trying to do it all by himself. So that in itself is an arrogant attitude.
I mean, I don't think he sees the need to protect the people in the building, because all he needs is Zeke. Armin is there as a gun to the head of the people against him. Yelena's just a useful pawn.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other possible options would be the wine victims, but I'm not even sure those are a factor for him.
No, at this point, they're collateral damage.
You don't want wine victims turning into titans in the cell next to your friends, I suppose.
The friends that he has put in the cell with the Colossal Titan. He doesn't care about them at this point.
That's to be seen.
Plus, if they were turned into Titans, Zeke would control them and direct them at Reiner and Porco, probably. Not Pieck, unless he's going to make like a World War Z Titan ladder, but...
Yeah. Now, so my answer for this poll question was actually the same thing Eren has said every time. Like, you can't fight if you can't win if you don't fight. So just keep moving forward. I don't think he was trying to protect the people in there. I think he really wants to defeat Reiner. But now that we're discussing like how the fight end because it gets interrupted by Zeke, you can see Eren's expression change. He has such how to call it?
Trigger.
Trigger. I don't know. But a very angry, vengeful look in his eyes the entire chapter. And then Zeke comes and it turns a lot softer. And I thought it was just surprise. But now that Al mentioned this, it could be because he knows if Zeke screams, the entire HQ is going to blow up.
Which would then free Armin to do his thing. Interesting. Someone else pointed out on the sub that the panel of Eren, like, doing that weird side scream that I'm not a fan of, but everyone else seems to be for some point, is actually a direct callback to Chapter 0.
I saw the panels side by side. That was, that was good.
Yeah, which might explain why the art style throws me off a bit. I would also like to point out the thing that many people have pointed out is that Eren's teeth, when he gets triggered on Reiner, just turn into full-on rage mode daggers, really.
Yeah, they're more like fangs than teeth.
Yeah, which is like what we saw in the anime with the anti-berserk mode, which then makes me wonder if that was the Founding Titan taking over because it thought it was about to die.
I don't have anything smart to add to that.
It's hoping that the rage mode had a point and a purpose, I suppose.
It did. I meant to write up this big essay on it and post it in the sub, but then I did what I've done for like the past 3 years. There's a reason I don't post anything to the sub, and that's just sheer laziness. Is that when I was rewatching that fight really closely, the eye color changed, the teeth changed, his thoughts changed, and it became the Founding Titan ideology of I am free, I cannot be contained, I will destroy the world. So my thoughts on what that rage mode was, because we know it was added by Isayama, was it was the Founding Titan realizing it was about to be eaten, taking over Eren, and changing the Titan form and ideology based on that, just out of survival instinct, which is what I'm wondering if is what happened here too.
Could well be. That's a good theory, actually. Now you mention it, I do remember the strange dialogue choices in that scene, which could make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the eye color changed from green to blue, which obviously isn't consistent with Season 3, but Season 3 isn't consistent with the rest of the anime, neither is Season 2. That's my personal gripe. So we didn't have the I don't know what you want to call it, the Eldian flower or whatever in the eyes and the purple sheen, but I think it was the original meant to be indicator of Founding Titan control.
See, I don't know if I would call him going in this chapter like similar to the Berserk mode in the anime. Like it's close, but it's not quite there.
We've seen 2 panels of it. It's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm. So whether or not Eren is in control, Reiner is clearly in some control at this point, although I don't know what to make of him in this chapter. His despondency is certainly still there. I don't know. What do you guys think? Luna, what did you think? He's your guy. How did you feel about Reiner this chapter?
Honestly, a little bit conflicted. Because, okay, we knew he was planning to come and to fight. And then I was like, okay, what is your battle plan? How are you going to beat Eren this time? How are you going to not get your ass kicked this time? And it's just same old again. And I'm like, what? Reiner, what are you doing?
He came close this time. I mean,
he did, but I for sure thought there would be more to his plan for some reason. I had higher expectations.
Yeah,
But,
it was pretty much just Armored Titan as normal with the side of Porco.
Yeah.
Like, it would have at least been interesting if he, like, bashed his own brains out and then eaten Eren when he went to check on him to see if he was okay, but that wouldn't have happened. But his complete 180 from suicidal, half-deformed, half-Titan to normal Reiner it threw me off.
I mean, I love that form, but it was also kind of cool to see him, like, you know, as soon as he landed, you see that big, broad armor Titan, and it's like, okay, it's going down.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm surprised he could mentally make that 180 so quickly.
I mean, he did it because of the kids, I guess. Those are kind of his driving force at this point, so.
Half of whom are dead, and the other half who abandoned him.
what did you guys think about the parallels between him and Zeke, as far as a lot of people thought that his ideology was very similar to this chapter? Why are you still living? We can stop the pain. You just need to die. Did you think that was a deliberate reference to Zeke's ideology?
I think it was definite projection.
I've seen that a lot, yeah. Because that was his mentality, right? Like just let me die, let my pain end. That's how their last battle ended, basically.
I mean, he definitely wasn't thinking straight, like when he said, Eren, you're not a own, when Eren has mopped the floor with Reiner 3 out of 3 times.
I think Reiner thinks Eren is as lonely and despondent as he himself is, and that's where the projection comes in. Eren, I'd say right now, still has people that love him, even if they don't understand what he's doing and why he's being so horrible to them. Reiner feels more alone, probably. I think Eren is prepared to feel alone if he knows the people he cares about are safe. That's my view. Reiner just wants to be a more traditional sort of hero, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a more simplistic worldview on what heroism is, but it's still trying to do the right thing, like invading a hostile foreign country to rescue 2 children. On that note, I have to wonder what Reiner's mental state is going to be like if this entire attack stalls or fails, because it was all his idea.
It's a good point. He could be putting everything in this, like, all his emotional baggage could be riding on the outcome, which he's not going to win.
He can't win thematically. I mean, as far as the story goes, Marley cannot win here. So I'm interested to see how it goes. Maybe there's something.
Unless this is the end, the final panel is a red herring, and everybody dies.
It's funny, the last time the 2 of them spoke was chapter 100. And as part of that conversation, Eren specifically says to Reiner, acknowledges Reiner's suffering. You know, you were just kids. You've suffered, haven't you? I think I get it now. We're exactly the same. You know, I can understand. I don't know so much that Reiner was projecting. You know, when Eren sort of said those things to him, Reiner sort of laid bare his soul to Eren in that basement in chapter 100 about, what he went through, what his life was like. And Eren didn't cast judgment on him. Eren just kind of nodded and said, yeah, we're the same. We keep moving forward until our enemies are destroyed. So the takeaway from that for Reiner might have been that they are the same, that they are victims of a situation that they have no way out of except to die.
As an interesting thought, yeah, Reiner could have read a lot into that conversation. And I'm not saying he's wrong to have done so, because I don't know what Eren's mental state is right now. I'm guessing he's horribly depressed. But until we see more, everyone's just sort of leaning towards their own preference or getting what little scraps of evidence they can. Reiner could absolutely be right.
Well, I can see why Reiner would think that based on their last conversation. I mean, he begged Reiner begged Eren to kill him to end his suffering. And Eren stood up and smiled and said, we're the same. I just keep moving forward until my enemies are destroyed. So I don't know. He might have seen it as permission to end his suffering.
I don't think that's it. I think Reiner thinks that Eren's goals are unattainable. Maybe because he's tried to do the same thing, save the world or the people he cared about. And he knows that what he did was not the thing that would eventually lead to salvation. And I think he sees the same happening to Eren, but he also can see that Eren is suffering, right? We've said before that he cannot be enjoying what he's doing right now, even if he thinks it's the best thing to do.
Well, and who else would know what the other one is going through but each other? I mean, they've done the exact same thing to each other. They both have attacked each other's hometown. They both have chosen this path. They both had no choice in the matter as children. So,
well, the whole attacking the hometown thing, I think Eren had more of a choice in that than Reiner ever did.
Yeah, that's true. But I meant getting the Titan power as a child was
true.
Eren's choice.
Yeah.
He attacked where they were. He didn't choose where they were. And regardless, it's kind of a tit for tat thing. If we're talking about the how dare you attack my hometown thing, I don't think Porco had a leg to stand on there. Like, seriously? That's literally what you did for 5 years.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very natural human sort of hypocrisy, though.
Yeah, we asked in the poll about this attack. I mean, Paradis is a threat to the world. They have the founding Titan, and depending on the estimate, hundreds of thousands of colossal Titans ready to, be unleashed on the world. So obviously Eren is a threat to the rest of the world. I don't think that that's disputable at this point. So it makes sense to me that Marley would attack Shiganshina and to try to retrieve that founding Titan power to prevent this sort of apocalyptic situation. I don't see this as being about revenge at this point for what happened in Liberia. Maybe for Porco. Do you think for Reiner and Magath that this is revenge?
No.
I think Reiner knows Eren was justified, and Magath is probably like, yeah, fair enough.
I don't think Reiner thinks Eren was justified in what he did. I think that's far from it, but
he knows Eren's feelings were valid. You screwed us over in my house, I'm going to screw you over in yours.
That was not the reason why Eren did it, though. I don't think it was petty revenge, and I don't think Reiner saw it as that.
Right, but my point stands.
I know the readers saw it as that. Everyone was cheering, yeah! Payback's a bitch,
Reminder 2.0!
Yeah, but that's not what was intended there.
I can't wait for Armin's Colossal Form to be given away in the Season 4 opening.
CGI.
I just feel like they're there to prevent an apocalypse. And yeah, I mean, I think this, I don't know, but it's the fandom seems to feel a little differently about what Magath and Reiner and the rest of them are there for. So Reiner's there to retrieve 2 children. I mean, that's one child in particular, right?
Definitely.
I mean,
and he doesn't know about Falco. Everyone else does now on Team Marley, but so I think Zeke will show him probably next chapter. I feel like it's inevitable. Like Chekhov's gun is on the wall, and it's being slowly taken off and loaded and
cocked. Yeah, I mean we've got Falco here. Falcon's ready to turn into a Titan. That was always my question when people were like, Falcon's gonna get the armor. I'm like, how is he gonna get a serum? He's got a serum. And Reiner's here. And Reiner's mental state is fragile. So maybe Reiner has a mental breakdown and Falco wanders in and becomes, like, literally wander like a big stupid Titan.
One thing the fandom is in definite agreement on is that Zeke is close enough to titanize those infected spinal serum and his spinal fluid, and that he will absolutely do it. I mean, 80% at this point agree that those 300 soldiers are goners.
81.1, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's for a while it was 100%. So for the longest time, it's a done deal, which honestly breaks my heart because Niall and Pixis are like, and Falco. I mean, these are characters I care about.
I think that's why Eren looks so worried. I think there's an element there of, I've done all this hard work to lock everyone up safely. Oh no, my brother's here and he's going to turn them all into Titans and ruin all my hard work. But as far as Zeke's concerned, Eren's done too good a job of pretending to be his ally, so Zeke won't know that Eren cares about that. So he'll just scream.
That last panel of Eren is the one that I've seen. I mean, we asked on the poll what best describes his expression when Zeke appears, and it's been amazing to me how many different ideas there have been. Is it astonishment? Is it relief? Is it worry? Is it fear? I mean, what is Eren feeling at that moment? And we probably all read the panel completely differently. Al, do you think it's worry?
I think it's worry and astonishment, because I think it's more than one element of worry, because there's also the element of, my brother is here. Oh no, where's Levi?
See, do you really think that Eren is that concerned with Levi at this point?
Absolutely not.
I do.
I mean, he put him there. He knew where he was.
He knew that Levi would be with Zeke and the wine, and he was planning on meeting up with Zeke anyway, so he knew that Zeke was going to escape.
The Jaegerists are the one that supplied the wine to Levi's men. This was not Zeke. This was the Jaegerists who were reporting to Eren.
Does Eren know about the wine?
Yes.
Is that for definite, or is that your opinion?
That's for definite. He established it last chapter when he was talking to Gabby and Pieck.
It was probably his plan, even.
Yeah.
I'd say he definitely knows about it now. Obviously, I'm just not sure he knew in the beginning. But maybe that's me being naive.
Wishful thinking?
Perhaps, but you know, when information's so scarce, an element of wishful thinking is always going to come into play.
It's true.
I am getting very tired of being in the dark about Eren. I mean, I'm with you to a degree, Al. I've always wanted Eren to be a heroic character. And, you know, at first when he was like Dark Eren, it was kind of fun. And it's not fun anymore. It's like, okay, chapter 112 happened and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I am very much ready for some kind of indication that he's still on the side of the people that he claims to be protecting or care about. You know, I'm ready for it.
I understand that. I think he is still. And believe it or not, I'm not normally a very positive person. I'm actually quite the pessimist sometimes. But I do genuinely believe he wants the best for the people he cares about. And although I won't claim to understand even a little bit of what's going on in his head, I do think that he's got the right intentions somehow.
But do you think his intentions are right to whom? To Paradis? To his friends? To all of Eldia? To the world? What is his focus? Or is it just freedom? Is it just freedom for whoever's still around to experience it? I mean, what is it? What is he doing that he can't tell anybody else and that he has gone to such lengths for? It has to be something that nobody else would agree with. Otherwise, he would have told them. Right?
Right.
I mean, who is he fighting for? If he's fighting for just Paradis, if that's the only, then it absolutely intends to unleash the rumbling and wipe out the rest of the world, right? If he's fighting for all of Eldians, why wouldn't he have shared that with somebody? I mean, this is the part that gets me. What's the need for all the secrecy? Why couldn't he open up to anybody else about what he's intending on doing?
Because he has a 2.5 intelligence score.
A 2.5 of 10 intelligence.
Well, the thing is there a narrative reason for him to not tell anyone, or is it just to keep us, the readers, guessing and interested? Maybe that's the only reason.
This season's anime started out with Eren flying across the wall, saying, not just me, us. He was a team player back then.
As far as Eren goes, regarding who he's fighting for, what his goal is, I think the flashback we need above all else is him talking to
Yelena?
Yelena, yeah. All I could think of was Miss Raccoon.
Loon Raccoon Swoon.
Loon Raccoon Swoon. I love that one. I think we need the flashback of him speaking to her after that night after the railway was completed, and I think that's going to be a few jigsaw pieces slotting into place.
Why?
I don't know. It's a good feeling.
No, I agree. I agree.
Why would he tell her anything other than what she wants to hear about Zeke?
That is the night he changed, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what was said and why he changed so much in that one conversation. So I just have this gut feeling that it's really important.
So you don't want to see it for Eren's side, you want to see it for Yelena's side?
Either or, really. I mean, as long as I get the dialogue.
I mean, there's the theory that Yelena opened up to him about Zeke's plan, about the wine plot, and Eren decided to side with them to keep your enemies closer, so that he could maybe derail the plans from behind the scenes.
That is what I would like to go with, but I'm not going to say for definite.
Even then, why wouldn't he have told Hanji? Why not tell them, don't drink the wine, guys? I don't see the reason for secrecy. If
maybe
that's
that
the
was
case.
the first night
Maybe
they
that
drank
was
all the wine.
the only way he could convince Zeke and Yelena he was on board.
It was after the celebration or during the celebration, wasn't it? Maybe that was when they were first drinking
right
wine.
after, I think, or during.
And then the rage at Hanji in that prison cell for
Mm-hmm.
their lack of activity. I don't know. We need that conversation. I agree.
We do, yeah. I think it's just all speculation until we have that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So in a couple of years, we'll know.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is good, because that means that I have a job.
Well, a nice thing about this manga is that you can always reread the earlier chapters and get so much more information and insight from it with the information you have now.
Assuming Kodansha didn't screw up the translation.
Yeah, okay.
I fully expect there'll be an Isayama interview next month where he says, yes, at this point, I estimate I'm about halfway finished.
Right.
By the way, this is how it ends.
Yeah, this is like a running joke with him at this point. Like, oh yeah, I'll be done soon. And now he's just like, you know what? Let's just release the audio of the end.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I have an issue with the ending, but I have no issue with him continuing to continue.
Life back. Okay, poll question. Who best represents Helos, the hero who will save the world? Not parodies, the world. What do you guys think?
If we look at Magath and how he interprets Willie's will, sounds silly.
Willie's Willie.
No, don't do that. Then the way the chapter was going, we saw Eren and Reiner fighting when Magath mentioned that we need a new Helos, even though the old Helos was just like a myth. Like, now we need a real thing. And then we got a panel of Reiner. So I think to Magath, Reiner will be the next Helos. But then, like, a real hero they can turn into, people can believe in and be grateful for, and God knows what else.
I just missed the theory that the Helos in the play was Jean.
Yeah, that's a great theory.
Yeah, when we
That
thought
was
everyone was cosplaying.
That was a fantastic theory, and I wish it had come true. As to who Helos actually is, I'm closer to saying Armin, if only because he's the peacemaker with the actual plan to unite the world.
Well, that's what he wants, but have we ever seen him make a plan? Enforce that plan?
Every time Armin's been on the battlefield.
I mean...
Are we going to ask for receipts?
Shiganshina.
Because he was trying to talk to Bertold? He
No,
wanted to talk it out, or...
He did take down Bertolt Hoover and Shiganshina.
And
His plan.
He figured out Reiner, and God, my memory is bad. Didn't he have something to do with coming up with the fight against Rod, or was that all?
I don't think he was involved in that. With Female Titan arc, though, he did figure out Annie's motivation, who Annie was looking for.
And he did figure out Annie, so.
No, but I mean specifically in regards to like world peace.
He's never been given the chance to implement world peace. You can't really write him off.
I think what we will agree on is that Magath, Reiner, Pieck, Porco, they all want a place for Eldians in the world. They don't want to burn the world. They want the world to exist. They just want their fair share of it. And I think Hanji and Armin are probably inclined to that as well. Everybody wants Eldians to have a place in the world. Whereas Eren seems to maybe be the only one, he and Zeke, who don't share that idea. My thinking at this point is that Eren wants to destroy the world and save the people of Paradise. He's never seen compromise as an option, ever. Has he?
Eren is one of those people who will freely admit to letting the world burn if it means the people that they personally love and care about are safe. Which I think on our darkest days is most of us, but we don't say it, you know?
I'll say it on my brightest days.
Fair enough. You're more like Eren than you know.
Konosuke was Zankokunanda.
At Darth, none of us get these references.
It's a reference to Attack on Titan!
What did you just say?
This world is cruel!
He's speaking in some sort of strange language. I don't know it.
I don't know
I am
either.
directly quoting Mikasa in, like, every other episode.
Say it again?
Konosuke was Zankokunanda.
See, you're saying it with such an American twang that even
Yeah.
I heard. This was like me trying to listen to Vögel im Käfig and then figuring out, oh, it's English this time around.
Yes, thank you. At least I'm not the only one who was, like, having a mind map plus dubstep just really isn't the way to go.
I don't know how I feel about it yet. But okay, so I say Reiner is Helos. Dart said it's probably Armin in his mind.
I would say it's Falco.
Oh. Our flying titan.
This is like the spitball beyond spitballs. What if the theory about it being Jean wasn't wrong and that was just foreshadowing?
I mean, he could become the future ambassador to Marley and establish peace relations once he's, I mean, who knows, right? It could go any which way.
Chaos.
No, Falco.
I would take Falco.
Maybe Helos is just the friends we made along the way.
Maybe so. All right. Is this the final battle, yes or no?
No.
I mean, everybody's here, right?
Yes, but it's not going to end yet. If the manga is really going to continue for at least another 12 months, this cannot be the last battle.
I think this is the final battle between distinctions between warriors, Paradis, Marley, that kind of thing. But I think there's one more big battle to come. I
think so. I think the world will come knocking soon, and then that's when the World Titans will get released. But I think for right now, I think Zeke will titanize the people in Shiganshina.
Yes, I think he will do that.
They may still do a test with the World Titans in Shiganshina. I don't know if that will still be a thing. And then the world will come knocking on their doorstep, and that will be the final battle, I think.
I personally think Zeke will titanize the wine drinkers, and that will make Eren drop his charade and reveal what's going on. It will make him... I don't know how you guys feel about whether Eren is actually playing his brother or not. But if he is, I think Zeke doing that will make Eren drop the disguise, drop the act, so to speak.
I think we all think he's playing his brother. I mean, I think that's... Nobody believes that he can be in agreement with this, right? I think Eren's intentions are for the people of Paradise. I mean, I do believe that.
I mean, he's, let's go along with that. He is pacifying his brother, pretending to go along. He has different intentions. Zeke titanizes the 300 people. We can assume that maybe Eren has control of them, not just Zeke. They both have control of these 300 titans.
No, it's the royal blood that gives him control.
Well, yeah, but then
it's like rock, paper, scissors, right? Does founding titan trump royal
Yeah.
blood. I mean,
Founding Titan can't activate without coming in contact with royal blood. So if he touches Zeke, sure, he can control them.
okay, that was my question.
And then he could take over control from Zeke.
Right.
Because Founding Titan is the be-all, end-all. My barometer on if something is the final fight or not is the presence of Annie. And
yeah.
right now, there is no possible way for Annie to be here. The alternative is Isayama's been leaving us with Chekhov's gun, Chekhov's crystal, for... what is it? We're getting close to 3 times now. 3 times longer than she was actually in the story. So the alternative is she never fucking comes out, or she comes out in or prior to the final battle. And right now, there is zero way you can narratively make it make sense that she just bursts through the wall.
I had a thought that she appears in an epilogue. Not to depress you or anything, but she doesn't come out of a crystal until everyone else is long dead.
That just defeats the purpose to me.
Yes, I suppose it would. It's not what I want.
I don't think that will happen. I think she needs some resolution considering her father, maybe her relationship with Reiner, because goddamn, he was a big meanie to her.
He was, wasn't he?
Unless, we're getting back in final panel here,
Mhm.
unless
Oh god.
Annie comes back out, she
Yes.
wasn't affected by the paths, so she's still fertile, therefore she gives birth to a new race of Eldians, and the baby was hurt.
Well, that sounds very depressing. It's probably true.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, maybe that's how we should approach this series. Like, what sounds the most depressing? Okay. Then we know what's going to happen. Oh, okay.
So what do we think's going to happen next chapter? More of the same? Battle continues, or
Battle continues, possibly concludes.
I could see us shifting to Levi and Hanji.
I could see that too, to be honest.
In fact, I thought we would this chapter. I was very surprised to see the battle, because it's the exact level of cuckery I've grown to expect from Isayama.
If the battle continues, I expect Pieck to die. Next chapter.
To who?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Zeke, probably.
Eaton?
I don't know. It'd be interesting if she wasn't, because then where does the power go? To a newborn infant? That's a peculiar set of circumstances then, isn't it? What do you do with that?
Which then takes the nine Titan buffet theory off the table as well.
Exactly.
I'm not a fan of that. I don't think that any Titan shifters are going to die by non-nomming means.
You could well be right. I suppose I would just be interested to see what would happen if one did die like that, but they do seem fairly indestructible.
It'd be incredibly interesting to see what happens if Zeke tries to fight Pieck, because they're both on top of the wall, and she's got a cannon. That would be a fun fight to watch.
What's the reach on that cannon, do you think?
Half of Shiganshina district. We already know this.
Oh, we've got Pieck on one end and Zeke on the other then, so...
Oh, good point. Yeah, he's on the inner wall. She is...
on the outer. Yeah.
Yeah, decidedly on the outer, but she's like midway across the... I think Zeke would still be in range, and if he's going to come fight her, he's going to get in range.
as fast as she moves, is it really an issue? We've seen.
Yes, because that thing weighs like 2,000 pounds. And she has to not throw Magath off, which was where I was going with that, was if she...
He can ride inside of her mouth. I mean...
That's phrasing, okay.
I don't know how else to say that.
But what I've tried to go with this is, if Zeke gets in close quarters with Pieck, we get to have a Zeke and Magath moment.
That would be interesting. I'd like to see that.
I did appreciate that he called him Boy Wonder. He helped to raise Zeke. I mean, Zeke has been a part of Magath's life since he was, what, 7?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's interesting, the dynamic there, that relationship. I mean, obviously they have one. And I would love to see them get some interaction here. It's hard to imagine any dialogue happening, though, when Reiner's incapacitated, Zeke's on the wall. What's the very next thing that happens?
Magath asks why Zeke betrayed them. I mean, that's the obvious step to me, which then Zeke can say for Eldia's extermination, and then he's in a Titan, so that gets overheard or something like that. I don't know.
The interesting dialogue to me was Zeke saying, "Leave it to Big Brother now." The choice of dialogue to me implies that Zeke wants to fight on his own now and not have a sort of team up, which is peculiar.
Well, I thought it was just because he was saying, like, Eren, you can rest. Also, you really need to rest.
It could be just a cool catchphrase to end the chapter on. You're right.
I absolutely love the way this chapter ended. I mean, how sinister. And Eren's expression next to it, the first real emotion we've seen aside from rage and disdain, whatever he's feeling in that, whether it's worry, whether it's relief. Yeah, it's fantastic.
The mask has dropped.
The fact that he has Dio's voice actor from JoJo is just, it's so good for me. And now I get to deal with the fact that in 3 or 4 years, I'm going to get to hear Dio say Oni-chan or Oni-san or whatever it is. And that is fantastic.
He just sounded so schmarmy in the anime.
That's just that voice actor. And it's brilliant. Go watch JoJo.
I was so happy when his voice just just made my skin crawl. Like if he'd had a sexy voice, maybe like that would have confused me or something. But him just sounding sleazy and schmarmy just worked for me on so many levels.
You have to remember, Zeke's the kind of person that wears glasses he doesn't need. So as a glasses wearer, I find that very annoying. It's like, my poor eyesight is not your fashion accessory. I know. They got
it's his only memory of his father, but okay.
Yes.
He's like
keep him in your pocket.
The pumpkin spice latte drinker of
Titan Shifter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I hate you.
Okay, back to important matters. So Wild.
This is important.
Excuse me. Hush. So Honeylemon on Twitter asked us, up until now we saw Eren either in rage or determined to push forward to destroy his enemies. However, as soon as Zeke arrives, he has an interesting look on his face. Some may say he's touched or relieved. I'd say he looks conflicted and worried. Now, we already discussed this. Honeylemon ends with, would you agree? So do we all agree? Well, let's just do a round table here. One word, what is Eren's expression? Darth?
Wonder.
Okay, so you think you're more astonishment.
No, more like a shock and awe thing.
Okay. Luna?
Like he has the same expression as Yelena when she was looking at him on the boat.
No, there's admiration in Yelena's facial expressions. Eren doesn't have that. He just appears very surprised. I don't know if it's shock, but just surprise, borderline. Oh God, no.
And Al, you think worried?
I like Luna's answer because it's immediate surprise followed by oh God no. So yes, worried.
Yeah. I mean, relief, astonishment, worry. I think it's all there. Like this is happening. Whatever it is, it's happening now.
Yeah, people are complicated and they feel multiple things all at the same time, don't they? So
yeah.
So, Mom, what you're saying is yarundna ima kokudai.
That is not what I'm saying.
At least you finally understood one.
I didn't. So
God,
I just decided it was best not to agree.
Are we doing it now?
Yes,
right
exactly.
here?
Exactly.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yes,
Darth, you are such a nerd.
I've watched that scene probably like 50 times.
I love that scene.
Yeah. Like literally, when that scene came out, I was still working in a restaurant, so I would sneak into a closet just to pull it up on YouTube and watch it again. Partly because it was my only way of getting a pure line of UC Big Girl Cocaine at the time, but partly because the scene's just amazing.
Well, that concludes our manga discussion. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with our Q&A and anime discussion. So, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the break music. Right now, I want to start by talking about the anime, because Return to Shiganshina is finally here. And I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this arc, but also a lot of people have been dreading it. So let's start with some general thoughts about the first 3 episodes. Al, what are your thoughts so far?
I think that they've done a very good job of explaining some of the battle tactics that I think in the manga sort of got lost on a few readers, like what happened with the horses and what Zeke was actually trying to do. Animation really helps in that regard, and I'll admit, for me personally, there was a sense of, oh, I see, that in the manga briefly confused me. I loved Eren and Reiner's slow fight. It wasn't fast-paced, but it was weighty and it felt real. And I know a lot of fans didn't like it, but I hope it grows on them, because I thought it was an amazing fight, to be honest. Love the use of the thunder spears. I'm just very impressed so far, all 3 episodes.
I love the sound of the thunder spears. That's just like cathartic. Yeah. But to the anime itself, what you mentioned, Al, about the diagrams, really, those were really good. That really, I could tell it was Araki who made that decision, because he did the same thing with Death Note. It helped, and it adds like a layer of brevity to an otherwise serious arc. Like in the last episode where they had the chibi colossal titan throwing houses over the wall, I had to pause the episode and crack up because it was just too funny.
Eren's little jump over the wall, the little hop.
Yes, just like the Mario sound effect. Just the effect of having voice acting and music always changes it so much for me. And I made a point of not rereading Return to Shiganshina because I wanted to kind of make it fresh, and it was. I completely forgot the whole like skirmish on the ground with the small titans that Marlowe is going through right now. That being said, someone on Reddit made a post about how the new opening is full of rainbow bird shit, and the entire opening theme song is irrevocably ruined for me.
I don't know if it's just me. The sound balance on the OP continues to bother me. I'm watching it on Crunchyroll. It just seems like the vocal track is too soft, and there's just not a good balance there. Am I the only one that's bothered by that?
You mentioned that yesterday, and I wasn't quite sure what you meant for like vocal versus instrumental, which you just clarified. I'll have to take a listen after this and get back to you on that, but I haven't noticed it.
Okay, then maybe it's just my television. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's just a loud song in general. Like I've mentioned this before, Revo did a line of cocaine and then hit record. That is what this song is.
I've been delighted with the anime this season. I've heard a lot of criticism from some of my various Discord servers about the use of CGI, which I agree is unfortunate. But as far as a literal adaptation of the manga, so far they've hit all the right notes. I mean, I feel like this arc, this Return to Shiganshina, these chapters I know incredibly well. I've read them enough, written about them enough that I wouldn't say I have them memorized, but I know exactly which moments impacted me emotionally, and they have absolutely hit every single one of those. So I've been delighted with this season so far.
I think the anime so far has been really good, aside from like the colossal titan. Yeah, we'll have to suffer through that, I guess, but I feel even more emotionally connected to it than when I read the manga, like with the voice acting, and maybe it's because of what knowledge I have now. I have a better insight in the characters, but it's doing a lot for me. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. This was a good, because when I was reading the manga, I wasn't enjoying it very much. I thought it was like a lot of ass pulls and bad story choices. Yeah, but they did that a little bit better in the manga, building up to that. Or sorry, in the anime, building up to that. And I always thought the basement reveal was the best part of this arc, and I thought I wouldn't really enjoy the rest of it, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far.
As somebody who loves this arc, I can say that I love the adaptation, which is very rare. I had some criticisms about Uprising.
Yeah.
They missed a lot of my favorite moments. This one, they're just nailing it. Okay, OP and ED. Does anybody love the OP, or are we all sort of like, about
Visuals or song?
All of it.
Both.
The visuals are abhorrent.
Too much green.
Green bird shit.
No, it's. I think it's supposed to be rainbow blood, but it's reminding me of something else.
But it's
which
bird
I
poop.
can't say.
And the CGI is just god awful, especially the part where half of the houses throwing are below his hand. I was incredibly happy to see that didn't carry over to the actual episode. The song itself is growing on me. It's growing on me a lot. I still don't like it as an opening though. I'm definitely waiting to hear it as
the full version.
The full version I think is going to be fantastic. But that's just been a theme of season 3: is the songs are good songs, bad opening.
What about you, Al?
I enjoy the opening song. I think, like Darth, I want to hear the full version because I remember opening 2 from series 1. I did not like very much at first, and then I heard the full version, and then I heard an English version of it, so I knew what they were singing about. And now it's my favorite opening. It's amazing what can change just from hearing a few extra verses. So
Fliegende Freiheit is really underrated in my opinion.
I agree, and it's swiftly become my favorite, and it's remained so.
Even above Sasageo.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. And I think part of that is the visuals of opening 2 as well. The visuals of this opening, I think, are quite poor.
Okay. Yeah. We all agree.
Good.
I'm hoping we get a revised version, like we did for.
It's not as bad as the clip show, but it's it's just like taking certain points from the anime, putting a green filter over it, and then some rainbow colored bodily fluids.
not just certain points from the anime, certain beta frames, pretty much, like the unfinished product that they then put into the opening.
The ED as well is something that, this is the first time we've had an ED that is just the Ken Burns slideshow.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the cast notes. Exactly 2 people worked on the ED. That's it. 2 people to work on the ED for an entire season, which has got to be unusual.
Yeah, one was the singer and the other was the PowerPoint assembler.
Basically. I'm going to go ahead and say I love the song. I love the ED song. I'm not crazy about, the 104th trainee days slideshow. I think some of the art's beautiful, but I'm really struggling with it. And if they didn't keep it that simple to change it later, I'm going to be shocked.
Mom Taco and I bet $10.
We got $10 riding on the fact that those visuals are going to change at some point this season.
Or not.
So.
Yeah.
I could see them changing, like, Grisha's flashback visuals. I would hope they would change this.
How about you, Al? Yeah?
I like it. It feels like watching an art book, which isn't a bad thing. I don't expect to have too much from an ending, just something to make me feel a little bit sad or bittersweet. But I like the idea that they might change it over time.
It really worked for me with this latest episode with Marco's death and Bertolt and Reiner. Just the level that the ED got me. It really got me this time. But I think moving forward, I'd love to see it change.
I'd like that. Yes, I'd be okay with that.
I'm very happy with the ending, even though it's just a slideshow. It hit all the right points for me. It made me feel very, well, not nostalgic per se, but just like, oh, look how much has changed since those days where we were all sort of getting along. And now we're all trying to kill each other.
A good ending is one that makes you feel nostalgic for stuff that didn't happen to you.
Yeah.
So we agree, though, that the production values compared to what we saw last ED with Historia, or Birds, Yugure no Tore, the one that kind of revealed the woodcut titan. Yeah. So production values are definitely down this time. Shockingly so, in fact.
And that kind of had me worried for the rest of the season, but so far, aside from the CGI, and mostly I'm referring then to the Colossal Titan, it's been really good. If they rush the ED and opening to put more time and effort into the episodes themselves, I'm okay with that trade-off.
I just wonder if the animation crunch, the problem with the animation industry in Japan has finally caught up with our favorite animes, because I've heard that One Punch Man is also being very poorly animated.
I've heard nothing good about One Punch Man.
Yeah.
Had a lot of hype, and then it was just fuck. It's Berserk.
Yeah.
Crap, it's Berserk. And I think the animation crunch hit us mid season 2. It definitely hit full beginning of season 3. It makes me incredibly sad. We did get a revised version of the Red Swan opening. I'm praying we get the same thing for this one.
Okay. Anything else about the anime?
Not really from my point of view.
Okay. Well, let's move into some questions we got from Twitter. Our friend, the humble servant, asked, Reiner showed some care and concern for Eren by saying, you don't need to suffer anymore. After their conversation, I'd really hoped their relationship would bear fruit. Then the continuing resentment and fighting. Do you guys think they can still reconcile, or are they too far gone? So what do you think, Reiner and Eren? Is there any chance for... do you think Reiner was showing concern for Eren at that moment, or was it rage?
My answer to all of the above is he was not concerned for Eren. He was projecting and depressed. He was not... There is no hope for friendship between them.
What about you, Luna?
Naruto and Sasuke could do it, so...
I'd agree with Luna. There's always a chance. The most famous example that I can think of that leapt to mind is Vegeta. Yeah, it sounds silly to say, but when you consider all the horrible stuff he did before he became a good guy, and he did become a good guy, redemption is not impossible. If someone really regrets the bad things they've done, especially if they've done them in response to a cruel world, all that's needed is for people to put aside, the lingering anger.
But there's a massive difference between redemption and reconciliation.
Absolutely. Redemption's entirely possible. Reconciliation, I think, hasn't gone fully out of the window yet.
Are they even mad at each other at this point? I don't get the feeling there's even... they're resigned to doing what they have to do. I didn't get the feeling in chapter 100 that Eren was particularly angry with Reiner. He didn't seem angry at all.
He just seemed apathetic.
That's absolutely right. And it's that lack of resentment that does lead to the possibility of reconciliation.
Yeah. I would love to see it happen. They both have to stay alive first, though.
I'm not sure if it will happen, personally, but I think, yes, there's absolutely every chance it can. I wouldn't say no, not at all.
It depends really what Eren's drive is at this point.
Yes,
and
again, it's all coming down to we don't know anything about Eren and to know stuff about Eren. Please, Asayama, help.
It's got to happen soon. Yeah. Okay, AttackonMomLife. We don't have time for Olaf her question, but the USJ event is starting at the end of this month. So she'd had a theme park related ask that I don't think we're going to get to, but what are your thoughts about the upcoming exhibit? We're going to have the clonoids again. Any thoughts there?
I have no idea what that is.
The USJ event is Universal Studios Japan. We have a whole new Attack on a Titan exhibit that's going to be opening up at Universal Studios Japan, including a clonoid. Do you remember the old clonoids, Darth? You have to know about this.
If you tell me what it is, I might, but the term itself means
the life-size statues.
That one, that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
Yes, so they're doing a whole new one.
Of Armin, because I only know of
No. They're doing Erwin and Levi the night before the return to Shiganshina, and basically just going to have a whole exhibit like they did last time.
That's interesting. I only remember the life-size armor Titan they made. Honestly, it's going to sound bad. If it's only in Japan, I don't care. Put it in Universal Studios California where I have a chance to see it. Cool, awesome, I love it. Japan, I don't care.
All right.
I think some fan is going to steal that Erwin statue.
You know it.
Someone in this hall is going to steal that.
Some crazy American woman is going to show up and be arrested.
I shall look for you on the news.
Yes, please do. Tall, blonde, crazy looking, crying probably as she's drugged from the exhibit. That would be me.
Okay, so our favorite person on Twitter, Polkka, has come up with another quickfire round. So what's going to happen is you're going to have to choose between two characters and just say the name that springs to mind first. Don't think about it.
Okay.
So the order,
You mean which ones you prefer?
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's do Darth, Al, Mom.
Okay.
So Reiner or Eren?
Reiner.
Eren.
Reiner.
Reiner. Falco or Gabby?
Gabby.
Falco.
Falco.
Falco. Mikasa or Ani?
Mikasa.
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 Tsukasa.
Yay!
Nobody likes
Damn
Ani.
now. Well, Stiller's not here, so
I had invited Stellar to be on this podcast, and he didn't get back to me. So
he's a grumpy old man, and I need to text him if you want his response.
There was his chance.
Okay, next one. Magath or Hanji?
Hanji.
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 Magath. Zeke or Vlog?
Zeke.
Zeke.
No comment.
You have to choose.
That means flock.
Flock.
Okay. Zeke. Xavier or Kruger?
Kruger.
Xavier.
Kruger.
Kruger. Jean or Armin?
Armin.
Armin.
Both. Do I have to pick John? Armin. John. Armin. John. Final answer.
Okay. Jean. Now for Sasha's heart. Connie or Nicolo?
Connie.
Connie. Oops. I went out of order.
Niccolo.
Connie. Yelena or Emir?
Which one?
It doesn't say, but let's go with
Lesbian?
Yeah.
Lesbian.
Lesbian.
Emir.
Lesbian. Yeah.
So, for the record, Mom is pro Sand Girl. Everyone else is.
No, look, my Emir versus Pad's Emir. My Emir always takes top choice. She's my girl, 100%. I love her. I'm just giving her the credit of calling her by name. She is the Emir. Sandcastle Girl is not Emir. I'm sorry.
She is. For some reason in my head, I read that as Ymir or Ymir.
Okay, the last one. Ogweno or Oyankopon?
On Yankapon, because I have PTSD from the festival threads. Ogweno's knee!
Ogweno, because those memes were hilarious.
I will. I feel like I'm betraying the Discord, but I'm going to go with Onyankopon.
Yeah, Oyankopon for me as well. So that was the quickfire round, and we got some nice hot takes on that one. Thank you,
I think
Polkka.
you all know what hill I'm dying on.
You are dying on Eren Hill. One Eren Hill. Friendship is magic. They will all get. It'll all work out in the end.
Yes. It will absolutely
Yeah.
all work out in the end, and I'm not in denial at all.
Now you sound like Stiller.
I do. I want it to end well, and I want a happy ending, and I know that it's not going to happen. But
Death, despair, destruction.
that's basically it.
I always choose to be positive about the things that are going to disappoint me.
All right. Do we have anything else?
Nope.
Well, then I would like to thank our two guests, the wonderful subreddit mods. Darth, thank you for being on. Finally this time. We missed you last time with Eric, but I'm
Not my
I'm
fault
very
I
happy.
got fired. Nintendo is assholes.
Darth, you can't say that.
It's not my fault I got fired. Nintendo is Or were you
Just say
objecting?
thank
Were
you.
you objecting?
I
to-
like being on the podcast. It was a good time.
I was responding to the "we missed you," but yes, thank you for having me on. I
Okay,
hope
can
that
we
it
can we start over because I'm not sure I can edit it. So let's start over.
I clarified. I was not talking about that. Thank you for having me on. I hope that it can continue in the future. What?
Nothing. Al, save us. Thank you.
Tasketekure alasama.
You're very welcome, and it was a complete pleasure and honour for me to be here. I very much enjoyed myself.
God,
Yeah.
you're British.
Oh, it was very nice having you. Thank you for being on. It was. I really enjoyed your insights, and especially on the World War I and II weaponry. There were some really interesting facts. So thank you for sharing those with us.
You're quite welcome. I keep meaning to make a video about it as soon as I get around to doing it, but you know how it is.
Well, you should. I think it's very interesting. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad I didn't bore. It was a real pleasure.
We'd also like to thank our Patreon, Kenny H. And I'd also like to thank Slifer2289 for the lovely review on Apple Podcasts. By way of reminder, if you'd like to support this podcast, we are on Patreon and Ko-fi. And also you can support us by telling your friends, leaving a review, or tweeting about us.
So as always, thank you for offering your hearts and your ears. And see you next month. Bye.
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 Shinzo Sasageo!
How am I going to fix that?
You can't. There's always one.
I just want to say, while we're saying things that are going to be edited out, I have 100% held back on Bitches Love Cannon's reference from Hellsing Ultimate, and you are welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because PG-13 is shackles.
You can go and start your own podcast.
You could.
Oh, wait.
I have twice!
3 times the charm.